All right, hey there, readers and storytellers. Thanks again for joining me on my book launch event for Keeper 829. If you were with me earlier today, you saw me do a live reading of my prologue. I will be doing a live reading of chapter 1 later today, so stick with us. If you participated in some of those giveaways, I'm going to be announcing those winners soon if I haven't already, so be on the lookout for that. Make sure you follow me on my page at Michael Camarillo Books, over on my book club at Camarillo Book Club, and then on Instagram at Michael Camarillo Books. I'll be announcing everything there, and I'll be posting these videos. So if you didn't see that live reading, I will be posting that on one of those platforms, so you'll be able to see that recording in the future at your leisure. So I am here with a wonderful person who has made a huge difference in this project and really got me, lit a fire under me and got me going. Becky Robinson, my editor. So I am extremely happy to have you here, and I cannot sing your praises enough, how much work you've done for me and how amazing you have been. But I'd love to hear from you. I want the readers and our audience to know this face behind the book, who helped it go from my extremely over-the-top exposition to a little more, a pill easier to swallow, I would like to say. So Becky, thanks for joining me, and why don't you start with telling us a little bit about you?
Thanks. I'm blushing. Thank you. I'm Becky. I'm the editor of Keeper 829. I work on a lot of different genres and projects, but mostly science fiction and fantasy so far. And I really enjoy reading and writing. That's my world. A little bit boring, but that's me.
Awesome. For those wondering about your accent, where are you from?
I'm from Newcastle.
Newcastle, okay.
Is it very strong?
say that again, I'm sorry.
Is it very strong?
Oh, no, it's not very strong. It's a little noticeable, especially for Americans. They'd probably hear it and want to know where you're from. They probably think you're just, before I traveled to England, I thought everyone who had a British accent was from London. So I want to make sure people understand that there's more than just London in England. So I want to share that out there. And I think it's actually pretty funny. It's really ironic because I do plan on getting this narrated eventually and getting the audiobook out, hopefully by the summer of 2022. But I have a nonfiction book that was narrated, and it's done by a gentleman from Bristol, and he has a much deeper accent than you. And that was his concern. He was like, are you sure you want to do this nonfiction book about San Antonio with a deep British accent? Like, I think it's amazing. So it's just weird, kind of serendipitous that I found you as well. So yeah, okay, so let's move on to what made you want to become an editor?
At university, a lot of my peers really liked the feedback I gave on their work. We used to do like short story reviews for each other because my amazing creative writing. And everyone would just email me and be like, oh, you're really good at that. You've really helped me here. Do you have any ideas about this? And a few people have kept me on in like their emails and stuff from university, and they're all really sweet and really nice to me. And I just figured I should carry on with that. So when I got out of uni, I found out there was a scheme for graduates to help them set up their own business. And it seemed like the perfect opportunity for me to try and get into editing.
That's awesome. Cool. So the writing led you into editing, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I because my whole course was with writers who had all these fantastic ideas, and I used to just listen to them talk and be like, oh, what if we did this? Oh, what if we do that? Oh, actually, no, change for this tone. And I just, a little bit of a control freak. I start taking over and telling them what to do.
Well, it makes perfect sense then that you would want to be an editor. What would you say is the most rewarding part about being an editor?
I think as an editor, you get a lot of writers who don't always pay attention to what you say, which is fine. All I can do is advise writers what I think. And when a writer does listen and they say, well, actually, you're right, how do I go about this? And we get that discussion about what they're writing and why they're writing it and how we can enhance it. I think it's a really big payoff.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. I do know so a funny thing that I'm always going to remember from our very first interactions was the first thing I got back from you saying, are you sure you want to write fiction? I don't know if you remember that. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So for the readers, it's not, I'm going to discuss that more with my beta reader. I want to see what her reaction is to that comment and how she would take that. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be pretty funny. But
I didn't mean it like that.
she did not, I promise. It sounds a lot harsher than it was, but I was like, are you saying I'm not a good writer?
No, you're just quite a you have quite a strong voice to write about politics or philosophy, and I just thought, wow, he could write a whole book about like Michael's philosophy of the universe and go into a little narrative like that.
And it's really funny though, because like
coming up with other plans.
yeah, it's really funny though, because with that, like initially I was freaked out when I saw that first note, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, I just spent this long working on a book and I was really proud of it, and now it's horrible. And I have anxiety. I have my own issues that I deal with. So I went over the top in my reaction to that. But then as I went through, working with you over this, last 6 months, I learned that like that's really just who you are, that you're very, engaged. Not that no, I'm not saying it in a bad way. I'm saying that you were very engaged and you are insightful. So you look at more than just what are the words on the page. And I think that's something that makes you a brilliant editor. And I feel really fortunate for running across you. So I say that, I brought that up not to pick on you or make fun. I mean that in a very good way. So it's just something, it's something that I will always remember, and I'm gonna love to talk about probably for the foreseeable future of my writing career. I think it's gonna be amazing. All right, so moving on, what is your favorite book?
There's a lot of books, and when I first got this question, I spent about half an hour trying to think of one. But it has to be a book called Kokoro by Natsume Soseki. I'm bad at pronunciation, and I'm a Georgian, so if I've said the name wrong and things, but I have to read a translation because it's Japanese, and the translation is so beautiful. And I think the book's a bit about like being tainted and living your life in a taint when you feel, and you feel tainted from reading the book, and it's just absolutely amazing the effect it has on the reader. I wish I could read Japanese, because I think if that's the translation and it's that good, like the original must be the bomb. So,
I bet. That's amazing. You'll have to send that to me so I can look that up too. That sounds really interesting. You'll have to learn Japanese. That has to be a life goal then.
I'm going to have to now.
All right, let's go about, how about your favorite fictional character?
Yeah, I copped out on this question a bit because I couldn't think of a character I loved. So I don't think you can pick a favorite one, because everyone's got their own little story and their own little function in the book. And even if they're not the main character in your book, there might be a main character in another book, and they're just doing their function, they're doing their thing, they're fulfilling their purpose. And I feel bad saying, you're not my favorite because you're a small guy and you don't do much. I'm going to go for like the really obvious hero of the book. That's going to be my favorite. So,
makes sense. That's totally understandable. I have trouble picking the favorite as well. Let's see, where am I on the questions? Well, sticking with the favorite theme, what about your genre? Do you have a favorite for genres?
I do. Autofiction, which I know is quite contemporary, and a lot of writers don't like it. But I do, because it's a really intimate version of an autobiography. You're getting it from the reader's perspective, not the writer's perspective. They're telling you about the emotions and the things that happen to them from their point of view. And it might not always match the reality of the situation, but I think that's really quite significant in itself, how people kind of change things around in their head, or they see things a little bit differently. And you've got creative license, so I guess if the story you're telling is maybe a little bit on the dull side, you can still throw in a dragon or two and get away with it.
Yeah. Awesome, cool. I'll have to look those up. I actually haven't read anything in that genre, so I'll have to check that out for sure. All right, what do you think people would enjoy most about Keeper 829?
I think it's for people who like to explore the human psyche and the world around them and the journey Nesha takes. I don't think it's just about like action and thriller, even though it's got a lot of action and thrilling scenes in, it also has that deeper level, which I think a lot of science fiction lacks. So I think it's something for people who want maybe a little bit of both the deep and the shallow, the fighting and the thoughts.
Okay, awesome, cool. That's totally what I was going for, so check one for me. All right, is there anything you would like to share about Keeper 829 for all the readers out there that you haven't already?
Yeah, I just say it's a science fiction novel and it's perfect for people who want to explore space and explore the human psyche. You ask a lot of big questions, you take the journey on a reader with Nesha and she searches for the answers.
Okay, all right. How about editing? When you were editing the book, what do you think was your favorite part of editing, of the editing process in general? If you could pick one.
I mean, I advance at line editing. That's my thing. I do like little microscopic down to the word sort of thing to try and adjust the writing. But I think with your book, I really like the structural stuff. I like looking into you have a lot of things where you do like file crashes, memory crashes, analysis, and I really loved when you were developing through that because that format is so contemporary, it's so innovative. I haven't seen that before in a book. And I think when you haven't seen something before in a book, that just shows you how hard the writer is to trying to get into that character's mindset and show you exactly what their world is like and come up with something really creative and original.
That's awesome. Yeah, you definitely helped me develop that because I know I had it because I initially started writing it as kind of just a separator when I was writing, because I wrote the first 10 chapters by hand and it was just like a separator of thoughts. And then I was like, how do I mirror that when I was typing it out? And it came out with those caret symbols. But then I was like, yeah, I didn't really think through it too much other than separators until you told me, you're like, that looks like this. And I was like, oh, you know what? Yeah, I should definitely develop that a little more. That makes sense. So
I know. I was so happy. I remember you coming on the Zoom like, oh, I'm definitely going to keep that. And I was just like, oh, my idea got accepted. I got a proper little buzz. I like rang my mum up like, he's doing it, mum, he's doing it. And she's like, well done, Becky.
I also took out the piercing eyes. So you won that battle too.
I did. I'd not watercolors it yet though. I will though. I will. You watched the book too. So
eventually. Well, the second book isn't going to be, there's not too much happening in Europe. So we're not going to have that argument. So it's okay. I think I just take out the need to use the bathroom. So as long as they just don't need to do that, then we have no issues there.
Or hide those sections from me and you can just like slip them in at the last minute.
I do know, I think, I don't know if you mentioned it or if it was Amanda, maybe both of you, but someone said that Nesha has a lot of chills. And I was like, okay, I'll make sure that she carries a blanket with her in the second book so she doesn't have as many chills as she did. I'm just saying that Earth was cold, okay? I mean, I don't know. It just gets really cold in the future, so be prepared. All right, are you going to be working with me in the future on future books for the Keeper program series?
Hopefully, unless I get fired or
I just want to put that out there that you are going to be working with me. So I've announced on a number of different things I'm working with you, and I've talked to different writing communities and mentioned how awesome this partnership is. So I'm really looking forward to working with you in the future. So, all right, let's move on to a little more about you. So do you write yourself?
I do write. I'm trained technically because, like I said, I went to uni, but I do a lot more editing than I do with writing because I think it's easier to, I feel like when you are an editor, you're getting like someone with like a blob of clay and they kind of shaped it, but they need you to just sharpen some of the angles, which is a lot easier to do than getting the blob of clay and thinking, oh, sugar, where do I put an arm and a head and how do I make this figure look like a figure? That's all very overwhelming. So writers definitely have a very tough job there. I do write, I'm more of short story and contemporary, which is why I love the innovation and trying to twist things in new and creative ways rather than traditional ways. And at the minute I'm doing a fantasy manuscript, which hopefully will be full length. It's hard going from short to long. It's really
That's
tough.
awesome. Do you want to drop any spoilers about what it's about, or not yet?
So far it's a blank document on Microsoft Word. So
What about in your head? It's got to be written in your head, right?
Yeah, I think twins is the theme in Catholicism. Okay. That's where all great horror stories start, even though it's not horror, but you know.
Should we tread lightly around that? I don't know. read Keeper 829 and then you can come back to me and have a conversation. I know Becky knows exactly what I'm talking about on that one. So let's go into let's lighten the mood a little bit. If you could go anywhere in the known universe, but the catch is you can never leave, where would you go?
Yeah, I've messed this question up as well. And it's quite funny because you deal so much in traveling and you're such a traveler yourself, but then you've got me and I'm not. I could honestly live my house and my life. Lockdown wasn't too tough for me, bar not being able to go to the shops or get pizza delivered, but I mean, they're small prices to pay. So if I could go anywhere, I'd just stay home and I'd read books and I'd go to Italy through a book or explore Mars through a book. Not that there's any book you can explore Mars through at all. So.
I mean, hey, it's safe. It's safe to do, you know, then you don't have to worry about wearing a mask or anything like that. So I think it's funny because I talked to Shelley Helsing, my beta reader, beforehand, and I know how she's going to generally answer that question too. And ironically, she has a very similar answer. So I find it really, really strange because both of you have the same answers that my wife did. And you three are the three women who have been like the biggest influence on this book. And it's like, my characters are jet setting across the world. They're about to travel through space. They're doing all these crazy things. Yet the three most influential people in this writing process don't want to leave home. So I think that's really ironic and just hilarious.
I know. It's obviously because we can't jet across Europe and fly off into space that we're going to make Nesha do it all for us.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it works. All right. So where can writers find you if they need a great editor?
Thank you. Writers can always drop me an email, which is rebecca.robinsonwriter@gmail.com. I offer free manuscript reviews, so I'll read your full manuscript and give you a little generic review. I've got a sample of it if someone wants to see what they would get from me. I think you got one at first, and that's when we decided to continue on with services. I'm also on Facebook, Rebecca Robinson. I should make a page or something. And I'm on Instagram as Rebecca Robinson Writes. Obviously, I can provide quotes. I do discount for low-income homes and students. And I'm really flexible and really adaptable and happy to talk to anyone about absolutely anything.
That's awesome. And you have the website too, right? Did you mention that?
Yes, I have a website, but I haven't bought it. The link is ridiculously long.
Yeah, that's okay. We're going to be working on that together. I'm going to be helping you with your website, and then we're gonna get you that Facebook page. I'll make sure you have one, and we can link our stuff together.
Thank you.
Yeah, so for those of you who need to find her, I will post all the links in the section below. I think John Green calls it the doobly-doo down there. So that's personal favorite of mine, but I'll post all the links down there. And if you need to find her, I've posted about Becky plenty of times on my Instagram and page, so you can just scroll through there and you'll find something about her for sure. But yeah, Rebecca Robinson over on Facebook and Instagram. So thank you so much for joining me, Becky, and thank you from the bottom of my heart for all your help with this project. It would not be what it is today if it weren't for you, and I am so grateful that I ran into you, and I can't wait to work on the next project ahead. So I know I've already, just to give a little teaser to some of you readers out there, I have already gotten the prologue in chapter 1 reviewed by Becky. So for book 2, it is already ongoing, and I just finished chapter 5, and she has already gotten me feedback that I need to go through. So I've got to get it working. And the goal for the next year is, for me, my New Year's resolution is to write 20,000 words per month for the entire year. And if I can do that, then that will be the entire series by the end of the year that I would have written. And my goal is to at least publish the second book by the end of the year. So look out for that. And Becky, before you go, I just want to show you. Here it is. Oh, I don't know if it will show in, there you go. Okay. With the weird background, but here it is in hard copy. You're going to be getting yours at some point soon. I'm waiting on Amazon to get me my first order, but this is the very first book that I gave to Amanda for Christmas. So I'm very, very excited to have it. And it does look awesome with the, as you mentioned, the, where is it? So some of those crashes that you were talking about. So one thing, funny thing that I will leave here on this video, even though it's something that I was very upset about, the big gap there. I don't know why it's there. And I know you've told me on a number of versions that it showed up on yours. It didn't show up on the version that I uploaded, but I was freaking out when I got this, and I was telling Amanda, I was like, no, I have to fix it. I have to fix it. She said, no, it looks fine. Leave it there. I was like, but Becky told me it needs to be consistent. She was like, it's fine. It looks great. So I'm leaving that gap there, and that will just be a nod to, you know, all of us are imperfect. So, but I'm very happy with it. I'm going to have to just grow through it. But thank you. What was that?
It looks amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. I can't wait to get it to you. So thanks again, Becky. And stay tuned with us. As I said, I'm going to be doing live readings later today. You'll hear from my beta reader, and there will be more challenges, more free giveaways. So stay tuned and read more, write mindfully.